you do is say no. Tell you what, they stomp on us, then they've got to go. All you do.
All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfugal News. War with Russia is coming, and Britain is determined to lose. Now, this is an op-ed, but this actually has a very freaky fact in it. So, first of all, I just did a video over on Marfugal News talking about the draft, how I believe if we go to a major war, you will absolutely be drafted. If you are 18 to 35, that is an answer to a question you guys have asked for a very long time. And I feel like after speaking with not only active and retired military and studying the news for now 6 years and all of the patterns within, that I absolutely believe that the world will be conscripting. And by that, I mean that not only will we be conscripting, but will our allies. That brings us to this piece. Now, this has a fact later on, and it breaks down the entire UK and, of course, UKR and Russia and everything that's going on there with NATO. But there's a fact down here that I wanted to highlight. It says, yet not only is the UK government in the process of reducing the army to its smallest size since the Napoleonic era, military chiefs find themselves struggling to muster sufficient recruits to maintain the paltry 72,500 fully trained soldiers that will be left by next year. After everybody that leaves, that's supposed to leave, 72,000. Now, this is a point that I missed in that other video talking about the draft and how, of course, I believe it will be enacted. We go to a major war, no question about it. Everybody is conscripting. All of the countries that are in major wars right now are conscripting, asking people to join. They're not hitting their recruiting numbers and then forced to actually get people to join mandatorily. But as far as this goes, if we are in a major war and we are backing up multiple countries, which we have essentially put our hands on the backs of every country at war, even in Venezuela, they talk about invading their neighbor Guyana. We're probably going to have Guyana's back. We're actually doing military drills with them. As far as that goes, if our allies do not have enough military to serve them, that will then pull American troops. If we get involved in a NATO war, that means that they're going to draw from our army. And then in a major war where we are also fighting for our own freedom, then we will have to have those troops replaced. So think about that in the spectrum of that. Even if we have enough troops, if our neighbors and allies don't, then we will be shipping our own troops over to them to help them with their cause. So this is something that, of course, now World War II, World War I, you obviously had huge, massive wars. We're talking about a massive war. If we have a smaller proxy war somewhere, no, they're not going to do the draft. But what we are looking at and what most people see is that we are in the process of the beginning of World War III. So we're going to talk about this and a lot more tonight. In fact, we have a ton to go over. So just a why you should stay here and why you should subscribe. Mystery deepens on Russian downed plane. We have, tonight we're going to talk about the U.S., South Korea, and Japan prepare for war. We have Putin's visit sparks fear of war. We'll tell you why and where this place is, exactly why they are saying this. Army Chief, citizens should be ready to fight. This seems like we're reading almost the same headline, but this is a different headline. This is a different scenario. Again, this has been the last 2 weeks. Every leader you could possibly think of saying, get ready for war, and even telling citizens to be ready. Belarus complains about NATO exercise. That one's almost funny. Sanctioning the Houthis. We'll talk about report that the U.S. military is now weak. Didn't see that one coming. And then marine amphibious deployments. This is something I've been following for 6 years now since the contract was awarded to a local company. Those just deployed about 5-6 years early than what they were supposed to be. I wonder why. Taiwan extends conscription for war. We have North Korea missile update. We have another South Korea leader attacked. We have Texas versus the Fed. States are now joining them. Of course, French farmers and nasty protests. Literal poo in McDonald's. We've got church collapse. We have China testing new rockets. And we have 420 psychosis. Marijuana psychosis. We'll talk about that. That actually has a personal tie into my own family. So we'll talk about that at the very end. All right. So let's just take a 2-second break and we'll be right back. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfugalnews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough.
All you do is say no. Tell you what, they stomp on us, then they've got to go. All you do is say no. Tell you what.
As always, the full bibliography is available over on marfugalnews.com. Make sure to go check it out right now. You can find a full source list for every single article, tweet, video, picture, document we're going to be talking about here today. All right, let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Fugle fam. I'm doing just fine.
And by the way, we had to reset a lot of the audio settings here. So we had some technical difficulties before the show. So if it is too loud, too quiet at any point of the show, don't be afraid to give us feedback, because I have to usually alter it as we get feedback to really figure out what you're actually hearing on your phones. So if it peaks or anything, let me know. If it goes too loud or too soft, don't be afraid to say something about it. That's a helpful criticism. All right, and then from London, we're going to be traveling over to Russia. Military intelligence senior Russian officials were supposed to be on the II-76 flight, but did not board. So, Dex, do you want to go over this? And this is very strange because we just covered this, was it yesterday or the day before, where there were, POWs. I think it was 65 POWs of Ukraine's that were on board, and they say that Ukraine shot it down. So what they are saying now,
Yes.
essentially, that Ukraine took the lives of their own people unknowingly or knowingly or whatever. And, of course, now there's an update to this.
So, yes, the story came out, and Russia said that it was UKR forces had shot down the plane. And then Russia said the plane was full of the POWs, which we were bringing to you, and you knew that was happening. Not that they were necessarily going across the border, but they were heading south into Russia in transport. They, of course, did not come out and admit it. They, being Ukraine, didn't come out and admit that they shot it down. They sort of said this all sounds hokey. They started pointing fingers. And of course, now what they're saying is, hey, and these words are coming from UKR intelligence, not from Russia. They're saying there was high-ranking officials that were supposed to be on board, and they were asked at the last moment not to get on the plane. Doesn't that make it sound suspicious when you make a statement like that? It sure does. So the other thing they came out and said, this again coming from UKR's intelligence or UKR side, is they only transported 5 bodies to the local morgue in Belgorod, and no human remains were visible in any of the videos from the crash site. So again, this is their position. Now, maybe they're absolutely right. Maybe they're telling the truth. And if that's the case, then that would be some interesting questions to ask. And then you got the other side, which is saying, hey, you guys shot down this plane and it was full of, the POWs. And they admitted, both sides admitted, there was a swap scheduled that day. There was a prisoner swap scheduled that day. And Russia basically showed up and said, we don't have any because you shot them down.
I mean, if it wasn't 65 people who perished, it would almost be humorous. Like, this is just, it's like, when these things happen, they're stranger than fiction, right? And then over to Russia's top diplomat accuses U.S., South Korea, and Japan of preparing for war with North Korea. Odd accusation, right? Well, some think it's not. Of course, we have Russia's top diplomat accused the United States, South Korea, and Japan on Wednesday of preparing for a war with North Korea. Now, before we go on, I just want to remind people that we've covered all of these drills, these exercises, after October 7, when Hamas did their entrance into Israel. About 10 days later, others got involved. And after the 17th, essentially the others started striking and doing all of these things, and all of their neighbors ended up getting involved. Well, after that, there was something mentioned by the United States and South Korea, and they ended up saying, hey, we're going to be doing some drills and we're going to do some exercises. Well, these exercises and the simulation that they were running was that of, and they compared it directly to Hamas doing the event on the 7th. You had, they said that they believe North Korea could do the same thing. That one of these days, they'll just surprise attack South Korea and they'll be shooting a bunch of artillery shells, and that is exactly what they prepared for. A massive strike by North Korea that was done by surprise, and they compared it directly to that. Well, they're doing this very specific drill. Normally, they do the cut the head off of the snake drill every year. Kim Jong-un gets mad about it, threatens everything in a kitchen sink, but this one was different. They were actually drilling, taking out all of their artillery all along the borders, and that's the drill that they were doing. That also pissed off North Korea. There have been multiple comments. You have South Korea telling their people. In fact, lower-ranking officials have actually said, and there's a lot of chatter online, that they are actually telling their families that they may have to go at any moment, that there may be some sort of event. This is the speculation in South Korea, only to be found on forums in South Korea. So, and then you have the military, the U.S., we keep getting these stories about how they believe North Korea may surprise attack. It seems like a very, very clear setup for something to happen. And if it is orchestrated, then yeah, we've got all of the warning we need. But if it's not, and this is the real deal, and that's really what's going to happen, well, we already have the events that have just happened over the last couple of weeks. They have actually evacuated places in South Korea, off the islands of small islands off of South Korea. They evacuated people because North Korea was actually shooting missiles, doing their own exercises, and they said if you're there, then things will go down. So there's lots of chatter about this. It says Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov told a UN news conference that this new military bloc brought together by the United States is building up military activity and conducting large-scale exercises. The United States, South Korea, and Japan have described their combined military drills as defensive in nature and necessary to cope with the growing North Korean nuclear threats. It says all of a sudden, South Korea's rhetoric became even more hostile towards Pyongyang. In Japan as well, we hear aggressive rhetoric, and it is seriously talking about setting up NATO infrastructure with U.S. assistance. This is something we've talked about for a long time. It's when they brought up the Japan NATO or the Asian NATO. This is something they've met in. They had Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan. Was it Taiwan? I believe there was 3 Asian leaders there, and they were talking about setting up an Asian NATO. But that's also what he's mentioning there. So it does look like that is happening, and it's pretty clear that that is what's going down. So not only are we going to have NATO, we are also going to have an Asian NATO. Dealing with the Asian countries. So this seems like it's kind of the tee up to something bigger. It says Lavrov said the objective of the military bloc is clearly stated. They're preparing for war with the DPRK, the initials of North Korea's official name, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. It says the Russian minister said that the United States and its Asian allies have been talking about developing their cooperation. It's quite wishy-washy the way they phrased it, but they said something like nuclear-related cooperation, he said. And nuclear-related cooperation is kind of a good example of this is when the U.S. isn't giving them a missile, but they pull up their nuclear submarine in the port. That was a recent example of that I could think of, which would be not, literally giving them nukes, but parking their stuff in their driveway. So yeah, Dex, Lavrov, he talks a lot. Same with Medvedev and all of the top diplomats in Russia. But is there some truth to this? Is there, some of this that we should pay attention to?
I mean, I think that we see ourselves preparing. Look at all the call-ups we've got in the military. Look at all of the gear we have shipped out. Look at the even just recently, we're trying to get new rights to have our ships maintained or continue to be maintained, or expanding the maintenance of them in Japan at the docks. We have fortified Guam. We have, I mean, the list is long of what we're doing over there in the Pacific. And a lot of that is for, you could easily say is for China, but it is also, anything with China is with North Korea. Anything with China is with the South China Sea too. So that's, to me, yes, I would say he's probably spot on.
Yeah, I've seen so many people that have agreed with Russia diplomats lately, and normally if you do anything close to the sort, that people say, oh, they're carrying Putin's water or this or that. But we've gotten to the point where our own country and the own MSM of all of our countries has filled everybody with so much crap that nobody believes the MSM here. It's kind of scary, and it's really sad that more people believe diplomats coming out of Russia than they do diplomats from our own country. I mean, think about that, where you actually look back over the last 3 years, most of the stuff that you have comments and quotes by these parties, you can say, oh, well, these guys are bad guys, whatever you want to say about them, but the comments were actually correct. That's scary when you look at the comments of our own country. Oh, we had nothing to do with that. 3 months later, they're like, no, you absolutely did that. I mean, oh, well, we didn't know it was this. Oh, you knew it was that. It wasn't made there. Yeah, it was made there. It's like we're just constantly lied to. And it's a really sad place that we're in, where MSM legacy media is virtually dying right in front of our eyes, which will most likely be a future video as well. We're going to possibly talk about a clip tonight later on in the show. Speaking of clips, we actually have a clip from a Fugal family. Or no, we don't have a clip tonight. We did have a clip last night. Make sure to go check that out. Confirmation of tanks that were moving to Beaumont. Now we have a comment that is outside of a base. And Dex, I don't know. Would that fit? That would probably maybe fit later, right? Or do you think that, I don't think there's a better time.
Yeah, we could, maybe we're talking about the U.S. forces later. We could talk about it then.
Yeah,
whatever.
That's what I was thinking. So we'll talk about that. He lives near a base. We'll go over what Fugal family member says about what's going on there. Dex, but as far as Russia goes.
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight a comment. See Here Think said, reminded us that the blood collection is like the next to the last step. And if you remember what happened before Russia invaded UKR, we got all the words that they were, moving blood and blood banks and things to the front lines, or to what would have been the lines at the time. Well, that got me thinking, what would happen here? And would we see that happen? But the one thing that has to happen before you could physically move that to the front line is you have to have it. I just found this. I thought it was rather interesting. Just the other day, and let me see if I can find the date on it.
Blood drives?
The Red Cross came out and said, this is January 9th. So that's about, I don't know, what?
A week and a half
15
ago?
days ago. Yeah, 2 weeks ago, just under 2 weeks ago. They came out and said, the nation is at its dangerously lowest levels. We need everyone to donate. Well, if they needed it for the front lines, how would they ask the public for it without causing panic? They would have the Red Cross do this. Now, maybe they actually are low and it's just they need it in hospitals, but that's what they're saying. So could be a great comment from See Here Think, a good reminder of what we saw with what happened in Russia. But it's also interesting to see the Red Cross has been pushing out this month very hard, saying that they distribute 40% of the nation's blood across the whole nation. There's a massive shortage, and they're asking, and they're saying the impact in the quote unquote could be dire. That's the words they're using.
So, and just to remind folks that are new here, or if you just joined tonight, there's a few of you new subscribers here. I'll shout you out here in a minute. But if you don't know what he's talking about, we followed the Russia thing a year before it ever happened. And one of the signs right before the actual invasion happened was that there was there was essentially an information leak of that they were moving blood. And when they're moving blood, that means they're getting ready for an actual battle. They need blood for soldiers on the battlefield. So when you see massive amounts of blood being moved, that's preparing for one of the less talked about kind of features of war is the injuries and people getting hurt and needing blood transfusions and things like that. That needs to be readily right there on the front lines. So I said it was about a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago that I said that's what we need to look for here. So great comments, See Here Think, and appreciate you. By the way, thank you everybody over on DLive. Make sure to thank your mods. Again, we'll do a roll call here after a few stories here. So get ready for that. And if you are in chat, or if you're not in chat, please feel free to come say hi and meet the Fugle fam. Before we move on, though, I do want to remind you guys, there is a way to protect yourself. A lot of our adversaries have been threatening either EMP weapons. They've been touting some of the new technology that is now out that could completely knock down our grid. If you want to protect your cars, trucks, motorcycles, and boats from an electromagnetic pulse or an EMP, you can get an EMP shield. Now, this also has a triple purpose. It actually protects against lightning. A big one is it actually can protect against solar events as well. So if we have a CME or a Carrington level event, this will also ground the signal in less than 500 trillionths of a second before it's able to fry your device. That way your car gets home to your family. That way your car gets out to bring your family out to bug out. This also would protect your home if you are planning on bugging in. There's a home version that you can wire directly into your home, and depending on the state, you may be able to do it yourself. Otherwise, expect to pay the minimum for an electrician because it is very simple once you do so. It is a great product. Again, it's the same company that has now been outfitting agencies like DHS, DOD, and the DEMSO team of the Texas grid. Again, they were mentioned in the DHS, Department of Homeland Security EMP Resilience Report, as one of the companies that they ended up calling up. So they are now contracted with all sorts of folks. If you want to get your own protection, again, the government is not going to fund this. Nobody's going to do it for you. You have to do it yourself. It takes about 10 minutes to put in your car, and then you are protected. Marfugalnews.com/EMP, and make sure to use the code MARF. Not only will you get $50 off per device, but you'll also help our independent channel. We are completely on our own, and because we are covering current events, essentially every three-letter agency like FOX and CNN essentially get the top of the page. We get the 45th page. So thank you guys for helping us and spreading our show around and sharing it. And thank you for subscribing and liking and all the normal stuff. All right, and Kaliningrad. Is it Kaliningrad? It's Kaliningrad or Kaliningrad? I believe it's Kaliningrad. But yeah, Putin sparks fears of war with NATO with a visit to Kaliningrad. The reason why, and there are a lot of comments under this on Twitter, ended up, a lot of folks didn't realize that part of Russia, sort of like how Alaska is America, but is separated and is in a different part of the landmass. Kaliningrad is actually stretched between, Lithuania and Poland. So we actually have a map here. I'll just show you. So this is where Kaliningrad is. And this is why the kind of fears are out there. So it is between Lithuania and Poland, and it has a port-facing feature here. So I'm trying to drag this around here. So main hold on, let me zoom out here. Main Russia, all the way over there. You've got a very small part of Russia that is all the way over here and right in between Lithuania and Poland. So this is technically like, I don't know, I wouldn't say it's Russia's Alaska, right? It's a separate, or Russia's Hawaii, only completely different. But you get the point. And he ended up visiting, and what they're thinking is that this is because there is some planning going on. It says Vladimir Putin has raised fears of war with NATO by threatening the EU nations bordering Kaliningrad on a surprise visit to the Russian enclave. The president flew into the territory, which is sandwiched between Lithuania and Poland, amid growing concern it could become the flashpoint for a future conflict. Putin appeared to taunt the Baltic nations, flying close to Estonia and hugging the coasts of Latvia and Lithuania in his, quote, flying Kremlin presidential plane before landing in Kaliningrad. Fighter jets were deployed off the eastern coast of the Swedish island of Gotland as Putin approached the Baltic Sea. Talking to students at the Kant Baltic Federal University, Putin hit at the Kaliningrad's neighbors for tearing down Soviet war memorials. Quote, this is stunning ignorance and a lack of understanding of where they live, what they are doing, and what will follow, he said. Dex alone in that quote, this is stunning ignorance and a lack of understanding of where they live, what they are doing, and what will follow. Is that some sort of eerie kind of impending threat there?
Well, certainly it can be read that way. Everyone has stated, and a lot of people believe, that his ambitions are to bring back the states that were once part of the Union, the Soviet Union, and not necessarily recreating the Soviet Union, but at least bringing back those countries, what we say now are countries, back into their union, so to speak.
It's like on this end, they did lie a lot during the beginning of things, because obviously they did the complete opposite of what they said that they were going to do. But as far as visiting this area, this also, the first thing I thought of is when I saw this again, it's like they could load up soldiers here. They could quietly move things into Kaliningrad. I mean, they can legally do it, and then they could move on and into Lithuania or into Poland. And again, Poland is the same country that has ended up putting up dragon's teeth for tanks along its borders. I wonder what that border looks like, though, between Russia and Poland there. I wonder if that's one of the ones with the dragon's teeth. They could be manufacturing things here. They could be manufacturing tanks and military gear and roll it right into Poland or Lithuania. So, very interesting visit there. And looking back in history, we'll probably see it probably had something to do with what's going on. And then London, UK Army Chief says citizens should be ready to fight in possible land war. So there have been so many comments lately, and I know there's a good chunk of people that are going to say, oh, it's just all propaganda, it's to scare us. But with the entire big picture, if you look at all of the dots that are being connected right now, I don't think so. It is going to be a money grab. It does have an agenda. There is an overall goal, and they're most likely going to be able to reset everything we know as our world system in this war. But I don't think it's just to scare us, because I think this is really going down. I know it's really going down, but that's my opinion. It says UK civilians should be ready to fight in a hypothetical land war, the head of the British Army, General Patrick Sanders, said Wednesday, warning that the ongoing Russian invasion of Ukraine showed it was citizen armies that make the difference in conflicts. He said that the British military is currently too small to respond to the threats emerging in a changing world. Taking preparatory steps to enable placing our societies on a war footing when needed are now not merely desirable, but essential. It says, quote, Our friends in Eastern and Northern Europe who feel the proximity of the Russian threat more acutely are already acting prudently, laying the foundations for a national mobilization. So this is going to continue, by the way. They are going to physically load up, get ready for a war. They're going to put everything together. They're going to build structures. They're going to put their weapons. They're going to start moving troops, which they already have done. And people are still going to go, I don't know if war is coming. There's going to be a certain point where the needle basically switches over and everybody goes, oh my gosh, we're in World War III. Viewers of 5-6 years are going to go, yeah, we all told you. To me, it's really clear. And the reason I say this is there's so many people that are still just completely in the dark about this. And I don't understand how. But I do understand that the MSM, legacy media, there are chunks of it that do want to scare you every other week, but then they tell you it's fine every other week. I guess the difference is we don't tell you it's going to be fine. And we're not going to, at 2 weeks, scare you and then 2 weeks say, oh, it's all good and everything's happy. This is going to go down. Our country is extremely unprepared for this. Now, you have every leader in all of Europe saying to get ready for war. And they're talking about citizen armies because they don't have a big enough force to do it themselves. So the reason this is important for us in the United States is, who do you think they're going to call? It's not Ghostbusters. Dex, go ahead.
Well, we have an advantage if they need it. If we had to have a citizen army, everybody's already armed in America. We do. They don't even have arms there. So, yeah, it's not like they even have the arms for them.
But here's the thing. So hypothetically, they go to war with us. Citizens Army, yeah, we would kick butt. Here, one of the most armed countries in the world, and it's weird that you have a lot of people that are just, they will not stop. They just want to disarm. And it's like, what is their agenda, right? But as far as that goes, that's why it's a worry for them to turn off the power. And if we're all divided and completely, just devastated culturally, if it's one-on-one with everybody, if nobody can get along, then we're not going to be organized. You're not going to see a liberal and a Republican team up and fight together against the big bad wolf because they won't know the big bad wolf is coming. There's going to be no communications. There's going to be no power. It's just going to trigger a fight between all of ourselves. Once there's deprivation without restoration, we're all going to see that when people can't just go to the store and buy more stuff, people are going to start fighting. And think about how we are going to start fighting if it gets bad here. Think about how it already is and how much people are just on edge. Then think about take away all of their amenities, take away all of their vices, take away all of their comfort, creature comforts, take away all their everything. How do you think people are going to act in the United States? Those weapons would be useful if we were a united country. If say we got invaded, like, I don't know, a month after 9/11, good luck. We could take on any country in the world, probably times 10, because we were all united. Everybody was opening doors for each other. Hell yeah, let's get this done. Let's work together. Now you can't get 4 people in a room and have them agree on a single subject. Think about all of that is going to carry over to when, say, this is why I told people to do an NPP or a neighborhood protection plan, a couple years ago. Do it before anything goes down, because you're not going to have luck doing a neighborhood protection plan, after SHTF. Heck, you do one then, you're probably going to get robbed. But yeah, like the UK Army is currently estimated to include about 75,000 fully trained professional soldiers, and there are another 60,000 service members in the British Navy and Air Force. So not much. Heck, the first kind of just conscription that Russia did was, I think, 300,000. UKR, what was theirs? I think theirs was bigger than that. They're serving military. You of course have all of the other NATO allies. You pull them together, you still have the U.S. being the strongest. U.S. is going to get involved here very, very quickly. Citizen armies, though, really think about that. But that's why if you are in Europe too, the same thing applies. Power out, grid downs, communication loss, those kind of things. Those are all going to affect you as well. We have a lot of viewers from Europe. Folks over there really should have some sort of backup plan. It would be the responsible thing to do. You don't want to, give up living life. You don't want to walk around scared all the time. But most preppers aren't. Most preppers are not scared. They're not afraid of something. They're ready for it. They're saying, yeah, bring it on, buddy. The more you mentally prepare for this kind of stuff, the better off you'll be and the less scared you are. When people say it's fear this, fear that, well, that means you're afraid. We're not. And from London to Belarus, Belarusian Defense Ministry complains it did not receive invitation to NATO exercise. It's almost humorous. Well, okay, it's kind of funny. Valery Ravenko, head of the Department of International Military Cooperation of the Belarusian Defense Ministry, complained that Minsk had received neither a notice about the largest NATO exercise since the Cold War, nor an invitation to attend. Yeah, I wonder why. Like, truth is stranger than fiction. Dex, it's kind of funny. Like, at least they have a sense of humor, right?
I guess. I mean, I get the warning. Like, maybe you should have gave us notification, but whatever. But to think they would be invited, yeah, come on. Like we would take them to the ball.
Yeah,
not happening.
Bring your tactical nukes with you that
exactly
Putin just put in your country, right? It's all a circus. And Dex, do you want to go over Yemen, UK and US sanction? And you guys know my shoulders cringe when I hear sanction. They're going to sanction the Houthi rebels.
It's almost another joke, right? But okay, we're gonna, Belarus is laying out the comedy, and now the US and UK is laying out the comedy. We're gonna sanction the Houthis. Okay, well, that's what we're doing. Like, it's really gonna make a difference. It barely made a difference with Russia. I'm sure it made some changes. They had to shuffle some stuff around and figure out new ways to, guess what, make more money, and they did. And in this case, we keep blowing up their caches of missiles and other things, and what do? They get more. Not a problem.
We can
sanction them all day long. Iran will resupply them.
I can just see a terrorist at an ATM. Funds denied? What the heck? It's like, this administration and sanctions are BFFs. It hasn't worked. What do you think that the previous president or any of the previous presidents would have done? Oh, heck, Obama was like pretty fiery and fury with some of the countries. Bill Clinton would have sent a whole brigade somewhere. All of the previous presidents would have done more than sanctions in this scenario. But who knows? Maybe there's something we don't know about. Like, I don't know, backdoor deals or mass corruption. Who knows? Just saying. And DC, U.S. military is weak, in danger of not being able to defend national interests, a study says. Dexter, can you go over this one too? I mean, not really a surprise if it's true.
So this is coming out, and it's this, I think, for the second consecutive year now, the study has ranked our military as weak and warned that a lack of action could leave the armed forces incapable of defending vital American interests. The current U.S. military force is at a significant risk of being unable to meet the demands of a single major regional conflict, while also attending to various presence and engagement activities, reads the conclusion from the Heritage Foundation's 10th annual Index of Military Strength. So they do this all the time, and 2 years in a row now, we've been ranked weak. And I think that is, probably on par. You look at a lot of the things that we've done, a lot of things that we haven't done, but a lot of the stuff we've given away, a lot of the stretching we've done by getting ourselves involved all around the globe now, we're pretty thin and we're light in the bank account, so to speak, as far as how much stuff we have given away and just squandered over into Europe for the UKR event. And then also to Israel, we've given plenty there as well. So, and any chance we get to take down a $10,000 drone with a $500,000 missile, we do that too. So great expense.
And a pretty big quote here says, for 10 years, this index has monitored the U.S. Navy's slow decline, while China's Navy has modernized and grown at a fast pace. So for how long, if our Navy is doing this and China's doing this, where do you think it's going to intercept? And then all of a sudden, China becomes more powerful, especially with what we covered just the other week. They are not only practicing hitting our carriers, but they potentially have this jammer, radar jammer, that could completely stop the most up-to-date weapons that would normally shoot everything coming their way out of the sky. They could take low satellites. They say 3 could knock out a ship. They say 28 could knock out everything globally. This would be radar jammers that could essentially take out every piece of defense. If that's true, we are in a lot of trouble because China is already the largest navy. And there's a good chunk of people that are just, they never want to believe that China's as powerful as they've grown. And if they make it in China, it's going to fall apart. They'll say that all the way up until you've got a soldier knocking at their door saying, get down on the floor. This is now property of China. Gosh, look at what's going on with Brendan Kavanaugh. Look at how much our media and our country has bowed down in recent times. I mean, heck, we brought people from all over to hold Chinese flags. We cleaned up an area that people begged to be cleaned up for years. Overnight, since we were hosting the Chinese leader, we cleaned up San Francisco. Overnight, virtually overnight in 2 days. Pressure washed everything, then brought in people to wave their flags so they would be comfortable. Half of our celebrities that are American celebrities are crying and whining to China saying, please, please, please don't ban me from your country. It's crazy. They change multi-million dollar media productions because something offends China. It's getting to the point of insanity. And it's not China or Chinese, it's CCP specifically. But yeah, if we keep loaning everything out, we keep having these scandals, we keep having these accounting errors where we just don't keep track of $6-7 billion worth of stuff. Oh, we accidentally gave them $1 billion more. We keep leaving $700 billion worth of gear, vehicles, Black Hawks everywhere. Yeah, it's not going to do too well. Not to mention if we still allow, let me ask you this. What is happening to these soldiers? I don't see a single headline about how every one of these soldiers on these TikTok videos telling people not to enlist, telling people that joining the army is the dumbest thing. These are active duty soldiers saying this. I have not seen a single headline about how they got fired, immediately relieved of their duty, and honorably discharged or dishonorably discharged. Don't you find that strange? TikTok is the platform for the youth. And they're sending out a solid, unanimous message that don't join the U.S. military. Not everybody will support what the U.S. military is doing, but when it really comes down to it, if we are being invaded, they may need some soldiers. And I guess it's almost crazy because you believe it's U.S. versus China, but if you believe that they already have their tentacles all and in and out and throughout our own country, then there's not two sides. It's almost one side, and one is slowly absorbing and eating the other. That's what it feels like. Look at our system. Look at how our system is moving over. They're already warning, corporations that, this whole social credit score thing is coming to the United States and Canada. We're absorbing the ways of another country, and that other country is not exactly a constitutional republic. Definitely not a democracy. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you. Alonzo Breck says, stay strapped or get clapped. Strapped or clapped. Yes. Alonzo, thank you for the support. And then thank you, Airwolf 2024. Thank you, Sharon Davis, Kara Fuse, Helen Miller. Let's do a quick roll call. It's always a little fun. Again, just general state or province. You can find other Foogle fam. Also, if you don't chat normally, pop in and say hi. It doesn't hurt. I know there's a lot of people that do not chat, or they feel like it's, everybody's clicked up and knows each other in the chat. But at some point they had to pop in too, and nobody knew them as well. So feel free to pop in, say hi. We do a roll call every show and try to just say hi to everybody. And you can get a chance to represent where you're from. Let's see here. We've got all sorts of great people here. Thank you. Skyhouse. Uper, Michigan. Hammer Guy, nice to see you. Mistake by the Lake. We've got Indiana in the house. Burger Time. Northern Utah, Against the Grain. Ever Dazed. Thank you. Calm, quick, concise. What is happening? Nebraska, Bug Nana. Thank you for being here. Mule Shoe, Texas. Misty. Hey, nice to see you. Wing It with Ethan. Nice to see you as well. We've got Santa Fe, baby. We've got San Diego. We've got East Tennessee. Present. 3 horses running. I love it. Present. Here. Alaska. Sign Digger. Thank you. Lone Star State. We have Texas in the house. Snohomish County, Washington. What is happening? Mystic Squash. See, hear, think. And I'm sorry. It's crazy. I've called you see, heart, think like a million times. Have I not? Or do I say see, hear, think? I felt like when I heard Dex say see, hear, think, I would go, oh my gosh, I've been reading heart like an idiot. Midwest Den 1 Caves. And you've been here for a long time too. So that makes me feel even worse if I've said it wrong. Tell me if I've said it wrong or if I read it right. Ellen Badger. What is going on? Danish Girl, good old Nebraska. Anna, upstate South Carolina. And of course, April Martin Miller. Hey, Marfin Dex. Hey, nice to see you over on Twitter. Or on X, sorry. LBC, unfortunately. Kansas, Cathead. And Cascade Foothills, Briar Patch. Tennessee, Claiborne, Texas. And Edge of the Hole in Antarctica. Michael Joyner, thank you. And Dick, thank you for being here. Angelo, thank you for being here. Futura and Carolyn Moore Smith. Domenico Luvara, Australia, Victoria. Beautiful place I want to visit. I've never been there, but I've seen all of awesome videos of that place. And man, another place I forget where in Australia. Was it? There's another place in Australia. It's like a touristy town I want to visit. American Argonaut. Raymond Knight and Fisherman 12. Thank you. Forget what it's called though. It's like a Coney Island type. They have piers and things like that. I can't remember what it was. Anyways, saw it on a documentary and I thought, man, that place looks so freaking cool. Shining Sun, thank you. J Pass, Scott from OZ, and JR Pale Horse. You guys are seriously appreciated, and thank you for making it to every show. I see some names. I absolutely know that you have not missed a show. There's several people that have never missed a show. So I'm really just blown away by that, and I'm very, very thankful. I'm very blessed to have very loyal watchers because, I mean, over the years, you guys must know the amount that we were recommended just dropped when they started doing things like, everybody said, oh, it's really the battle with legacy media and alternative media. Legacy media is dying. Dex, did I end up giving you that clip for today, or did I not add it to the show? I know I talked to you about that clip, but I don't think we put it in. It was the woman. It's on my Twitter. It's the woman who talks about legacy media dying and journalism dying. She was a journalist, and she talks about how essentially if you are a journalist now, just like if you're a coder, right? If you're a coder, if you think you're going to go get a coding degree and be a programmer at like Amazon or something, well, guess what? AI is about to take that job. So they're not going to have humans. What she was talking about is how mainstream media has now cut, and I mean seriously cut, all sorts of staff. Sports Illustrated, New York Times, Washington Post just cut like 20,000 people or something. Sports Illustrated is in disarray. Like these legacy medias that we grew up on magazines and newspapers and all of these things. Of course, they're not, they're not technologically up there, but all of them, even the ones that have really kind of adapted to the times, they are firing people. They are relieving people. They're dying. And part of it is that they're in the future, they're going to have AI write these articles. Not to mention, any real journalists aren't even real journalists anymore because they're not allowed to actually say the truth if the truth goes against the grain. Or if the truth offends somebody, then, well, heck, you can't have that either. I'm terrified where this is headed, but I am also feeling like, yeah, we can be scared about where this is going, but I'm even more scared that I believe at some point people will push back. And that's going to be a crazy time. Who knows? It might be better after things go real south, but we'll have to go through that time of people going south. Think about that. There's been so many kind of push downs of everybody right now. From, at some point, people are pushed to a certain point. They push back. Kind of a scary thought when it's happening globally. Mind you, everywhere in the world is having the same thing happen. This Brendan Kavanaugh, the piano incident, this really makes me interested in the fact that Europe, the TV is separated in just the same way. There's the right-leaning. They only talk about the lefties, and the lefties talk about the righties. And in every country, Canada, same way. Almost every country that has media, including down in Central America and South America, in Africa, they have this side versus this side. I think it's interesting because when CV happened, we were all under the same umbrella. And we felt like, oh, no matter where you are in the world, it's all like this. Well, in just a few short years, in the last couple decades, it really has turned into kind of a global thing, where everywhere in the world is going through the same thing, whether that be a disaster or whether that be these political movements happening everywhere. It's really crazy to think about. Now, before we move on, we've got, again, really, really awesome stuff here. If you haven't already, there's some new stuff over on marfugalnews.com. In fact, over at marfugalnews.com/bake, there's a really, really, really cool special on the Ember off-grid biomass oven pack. So there's actually several deals here, but they all come with different food, different kits. This is actually an off-grid oven. It's a really, really cool piece of off-grid tech, and there's really cool packages that have all sorts of different goodies. This one, for instance, again, I'll just go up to this top one. It comes with all sorts of awesome stuff. So these are all available over at marfugalnews.com/bake, and there is a giant discount on all of these different packages. That way you can be off-grid and get your bake on. Go to marfugalnews.com/bake. Again, they also have all sorts of other goodies there. This is My Patriot Supply, which you can also get their freeze-dried food at marfugalnews.com/prep. Every purchase, not only are you going to get a giant discount, in fact, My Patriot Supply, every time you use any of our links, you will get a giant discount no matter what it is, but you'll also be helping our channel. So thank you guys. Thank you for supporting independent, and thank you for getting yourself prepped up. That's marfugalnews.com/bake. But yeah, it comes with all sorts of awesome stuff. Even comes with some extra goodies and food. So go check it out, marfugalnews.com/bake. All right, and then Dex, do you want
Did
to
you
go?
know you can actually use that indoors?
Yes, you
You
can.
can
And
indoor or outdoor. That's what's so cool about it. And you can just grab twigs and use it outdoors and just cook anything in it. It's really cool.
Yeah,
I
you-
want one. I think it's so awesome.
yeah, you can use the instant heat thing, or you can grab pine cones. It even says you can use pine cones. So you can use pretty much anything you would find down on the ground and then cook with it or bake with it. Dex, do you want to go over San Diego Marine Corps new amphibious? And actually, I'll pop in just with this. I've followed the contracts for the amphibious vehicles. If you are my old time subscribers, then you remember when a lot of these contracts were being given out. There was a competition for who was going to make a lot of these, and a big chunk of it went to Washington, a big chunk of it went to like California, parts of it went. But when this was going down, the original date was like 2031 or 2028. It's 2024. These things are rolling out right now. I told you when they sped it up in 2020, they all of a sudden said, hey, we need these faster. 2022 or 2023, they said, well, we need them. We need them now. Now they're soon to deploy to the Pacific. Mind you, we've been doing island hopping exercises. But do you want to go over what just happened?
Well, they got sort of grounded back in 2022, October 22. They had a rollover incident and they weren't allowed to use that. It was during a training exercise, and they weren't allowed to use them in the surf when they land going into surf. So they had to back that off, and they blamed it on training and needing to improve how they use them, et cetera, et cetera. And now they even had another incident in December. It was a rollover that actually took out a Marine on board at a California Marine base. So it's had quite a few challenges, but now they are geared up and ready to roll. They are headed out. The California-based 15th Marine Expeditionary Unit will deploy on the Navy's Boxer Amphibious Ready Group. So that's headed out, and they should be they're headed to the Pacific in the coming days to begin a 6-month scheduled deployment, according to the release from the military. So yeah, this group ready to roll, even though they've had all these issues. They apparently have gotten over the training that's causing them to roll them.
And just a reminder, these can be deployed from the amphibious carriers, and the amphibious carriers, as far as those goes, if you remember, there was a tit for tat. And my personal belief is that China did some sort of attack on the U.S. and U.S. didn't attack on China. Dex, I'm trying to remember which happened first, but I believe it was the U.S. happened, and an amphibious aircraft carrier, or amphibious carrier, actually caught fire in port I want to say it was San Diego, and it was burning for about 4 or 5 days. They ended up arresting like a 20-year-old kid that was serving, and they said, oh, he had a gripe with the Navy, and he set it on fire. Not a lot of us actually believed that. And I think it was afterwards, because the reason I didn't believe it is because the Chinese amphibious assault carrier, the same kind of boat, they have a big back end that can hold these kinds of vehicles in the back, and they can deploy them out the back of them in the water or on land, caught fire in China in port and stayed ablaze for 4 or 5 days. And I've always made the point, like these carriers are not filled with frilly curtains and things that can catch fire. They do have accelerants, but in both cases, there was unlikely evidence that any accelerants were used, that any of the fuel tanks exploded, any of that. That kid, if you followed it, which I did, and I shared this with you guys, that kid got dropped of all charges. So he was the patsy, and apparently he didn't do it. So the mystery's still there, but nobody's going to go back to it because it's an old story. It got the job done of everybody said, oh, out of mind. It caught fire for 5 days. It was some kid. Dex, go ahead.
I was just going to answer your question. It was April 2020 for China, and then followed by the
July?
U.S. in July of 2020. So a few months later, it was July.
And at that
China first.
at that time. So and everybody thought that it might have been direct energy. Do you know that it was around that same exact time where the first press conference, first ever, somebody from the DOD came out and said, blah, 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 China and Russia have weaponized space. And direct energy is not only real, we believe China and Russia have weaponized space with it. Before that, just understand that when I started YouTube, if you said DEW, if you said that kind of thing, that was a theory. That was kooky. Now it's considered fact. So it is quite wild to see a lot of the things that we talk about as theories and speculation, and then be able to go through our archives and see, oh, this is no longer theoretical. This is real. All these things that we talk about now that they say is coming in the future, if we're still here, we're able to look back and go, we speculated that this was happening. Now we know it's happening. When you go over years and years, you start to see a pattern of the things that actually do come true and how that looks like and how they portray it in MSM or how they portray it in leaks or how they portray it in their press releases or how they frame it. That's how you can start to see what's not only propaganda, but what's also a lead up or a tee up, like they're teeing you up. They're mentally getting you prepared for something. Right here, these amphibious ones, they've been doing island hopping exercises and exercises at night. They've been doing these exercises for now 3 years. There's special divisions like this. This is like a D-Day drop boat type of thing. These are going to be able to roll up and drop, soldiers down. They would use this if China ended up invading the very tips islands of Taiwan. If they were close, they could actually deploy these, and they could deploy U.S. soldiers in a minute. They're very, very cool. But yeah, they've had their setbacks. These things are way cooler than the original, like D-Day boats. So yeah, much safer for the troops too. Like, gosh, it's except for the whole dying part, soldiers have some of the coolest gear they've ever had now. And then, Dex, do you want to go over Taiwan begins extended 1-year conscription? This kind of fits into the subject of the day.
That's correct. So the first batch of new recruits begins serving their 1-year compulsory military. In the past, it was 4 months. So the conscription period was extended from 4 months due to government concerns about China's rising military threat. So they passed that law, they put it in place, and now the first batch of those that are being recruited are now going in for the full year. And that extends and expands the capacity of the military, allowing them to ramp it up more quickly and be prepared for what they feel is the coming invasion from China into Taiwan.
Is there any metadata on this picture they're using? Is this currently they're masked up for duty? God, I couldn't imagine doing burpees or laps in a mask. I just wonder because on this version it doesn't have it, but maybe on the original it has a date or a time.
It just has a caption that says the first batch of new recruits set to begin 1-year compulsory military service in Taiwan. Yeah, it doesn't have any other information.
But they are saying that this is a picture of the first batch, which we would assume, since they're saying that's now, that these guys are getting ready to serve and they're all covered up. Why are they covered up? That's my question. Is something coming back? Or are they worried about something? Do they know something we don't? Just a observation. Sharon, thank you. A couple new subscribers, thank you here. Dylan, thank you for subscribing. John, thank you for subscribing. Sheila, thank you for subscribing. John Frederick, thank you for subscribing. Aprila, thank you for subscribing. Tosha Tino, thank you for subscribing. I appreciate you. And as always, if you subscribe during the show, you will get a shout out. Snicket, thank you. Snicket Knight, thank you. OG Stoner, thank you for subscribing. Thinking Destiny, thank you for subscribing. Steven Sun, thank you for subscribing as well. I appreciate that. And Keon And Moshivia Shurl, thank you for subscribing. And William Sorry, thank you for subscribing as well. Elizabeth Weevil, thank you for your support. I appreciate that. William Michael Robertson and Norm, thank you. I appreciate you guys. Welcome. And then we have North Korea says it tested new strategic cruise missile. So this has some, as far as, where they're getting all of this new tech, almost on a weekly basis now, we have seen a new story about how they just keep testing this new or advanced tech. Obviously, everybody assumes that they're doing deals with Russia, but it's not that good. It's like everybody is setting up North Korea to be the next big war. Especially going back to previously in the show, if you caught us late, they talked about how Russia actually is saying, Lavrov is saying that he believes that the U.S. and Asian countries are setting up for some sort of NATO and they're preparing for a war with North Korea. What he is stating is he believes that the Asian NATO and U.S. is going to go to war with North Korea. If you see how we are being told in the media about what they're doing there, say if this isn't 100% truth, or if they're exaggerating this to make sure that they really drill it into Americans' heads or to the Western nations' heads that, hey, these guys are bad guys, they've got a lot of bad stuff, we need to go handle the problem before they do something. That could also be the mental setup for what they're about to do. Fast forward, if you're watching this in the future and we are at war with North Korea, comment down below. North Korea said it tested new strategic cruise missile on Wednesday. State media KCNA reported the missile, dubbed Hwasel 331, is currently, that's kind of weird they have the name as like a date, is currently under development for the test firing and had no impact on the security of neighboring countries, the state media said, adding it had nothing to do with the regional situation. Hold on. I just want to see real quick. Oh, not highlight, copy. What does that mean? See if I can, dang it, it's got me in the, Dex, can you look up, I'll just do it real quick. Hwasel. Hwasel. Just have, because it says 331. By the way, January, February, March. March is also where everything is starting to line up. It's kind of weird. Including, wasn't there something else that we were just talking about that ends in March, or the biggest drill in it starts like right now?
It was the end in May.
End in May. Okay.
But I think April is the eclipse. The final X/.
Let me see here. Let me go back to this. PUL. Let me pull this up. There we go. Other people are searching it up too. It was a top search. Huh. So Blaze Arrow. That's what it means. Blaze Arrow is the meaning of that. Or no, Flaming Arrow is what other people say that means. Hwasel or Arrow, and Paul Flaming. Flaming Arrow 331. And it's 3-31. Huh. Interesting. Well, this cruise missile, obviously not great that it's in the hands of North Korea. And then South Korean lawmaker is injured in attack weeks after the opposition leader was stabbed. So the opposition leader was shanked, of course, and now you have another attack. The reason why I think this is important, and I point out that these events that happen around the world, people in America especially, I at least from talking to regular people, not the people in our audience, A lot of them don't care what goes on in other countries. They really care about what's happening in their own bubble, but they don't really care about what is happening elsewhere in the world. But this could have significance, especially if we end up backing up South Korea in a massive war. So if something fishy is going on in South Korea, it could affect us here at home very, very fast, especially if they're trying to insert or extricate, somebody who they want in power or they don't want in power because they're trying to manipulate other countries into what is going to happen to produce, a result as far as who they want in to get the actions done that they want. A South Korean governing party maker was treated for lacerations at a Seoul hospital after being attacked Thursday by an unidentified man who repeatedly struck her head with a rock-like object. A police official in Seoul's Apyeong district said a suspect was arrested at the scene of the attack on lawmaker Bae Hyun-jun in southern Seoul. The attack, which came weeks after a man shanked opposition leader Lee Jae-myung in the neck in the southern city of Busan. Why is this happening so often over there? Are these spies? Are these straight up people from another country? Are these North Korean sleeper cells? Like, these are extreme events. And to have many of these happening in the last couple years. Heck, in Japan, another Asian country, you have the former prime minister getting taken out with a homemade shoddy. And then some weird story about how the church ripped off his family and all of this. Like, a lot of these stories, just something is weird. Then you remember about three-letter agencies like CIA or agencies like Mossad and all of the different countries that are involved in this. You've got MI5 and all of the KGB. Like, is something happening right now behind closed doors that public has no idea is happening? Are all of these things happening to get a certain result? Did they want that person to drop out? Did they want that, that opposition leader, the other guy? Did they want this lawmaker to keep their mouth shut about something or pass a certain thing or, not pass a certain law? Was this their threat? Like, hey, we can get right to you. We'll hit you over the head with a rock. I believe this is the picture of the woman who was involved here. But yeah. Dex, did you notice that too? Like all of the Asian countries, including the Philippines, including obviously China has all of their weird events going on. You have Japan, you have South Korea, you have North Korea. There's so many odd events. And
there's a lot at stake between the alliances, if you're on China's side or on the U.S. side. So I think there's a lot of pressure for political changes. I mean, just look at what happened in Hong Kong and how they were able to pull that off.
Yeah.
And influence and power with politicians is one of the key strengths in conflict. So.
And then do you want to go over Texas escalates feud with federal government, telling ranchers and SCOTUS ruling on razor wire not final?
Yep. So they told the ranchers that the SCOTUS ruling wasn't final, and then they went so far as to hand out razor wire for free. They are giving out to all the ranchers razor wire now, so that they can use it to set up their own perimeters on their properties and help restrain, keep back, I guess, the crossings that may be happening on their individual properties. So again, another blow back towards the feds. And as we'll talk about, in addition to this, is a second piece that goes with it about which states are backing Greg Abbott here. So this, the Texas has taken the stand, so to speak, and they're protecting their own borders themselves when they feel like the federal government is not doing it for them. And now we have a list of states that have signed up with each and every one of them to back them. If you grab that tweet, Adam.
Yeah, so check this out. This is the list, and this is kind of like, is this going to be is this list going to be similar to what they had in the upcoming movie Civil War? Like, that's what it looks like.
I mean, states get together on big issues like this. It's what happened in the last one. Not issues aside on that. the whole notion was states got together and created their own organization. And if we see this is a strong enough topic that causes that, this could be the one of the early signs of that civil conflict that we all think may be coming.
Did you put it in screener or where did you put it?
No, it should be in with the other article.
Oh,
Is
okay.
it not there?
No, it's not.
Oh, it's the next one. Sorry. Click
That's
next.
okay. Here we go. So check this out.
Goes to the governor's office.
Okay. So check this out. Florida, Virginia, Georgia, North Dakota, South Dakota, Tennessee, Alabama, Montana, Idaho, Utah, West Virginia, Oklahoma, Nebraska, and Louisiana. What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15 states are backing up what they are doing in Texas. Total of 16 states are kind of along the same lines, right? Which I don't know how they said it. I remember I was watched that trailer a couple times. I was thinking, gosh, what if that is what is going on right now? But yeah, you don't see Washington or California on there, or New York. That's for sure. But it's kind of like, you know, these states are putting their foot down and saying, hey, we're in support of this. Because most of these folks, after they go through Texas, they're going to a lot of these states. Yeah. It's like everything is being set up for a big clash. Obviously, it's a lot different from the last issues of the civil conflict. People were really arguing over whether people should own people. Now it's kind of it's a whole different world.
And that list is growing. No one here yet just commented saying that it's now up to actually 25 states as of 8 o'clock a.m. today.
So this was at 16. So now 10 more states have added in to this. I'm not surprised. Well, what is that? We have 50 states. So you've got 50 plus states here and 25, almost half of the country. That's like the perfect divide for a frickin' civil conflict. That's nuts. And here's a couple from Twitter, very, very insane. Over in France, French farmers are rising up against their government, and they have the vast majority of French citizens supporting them. The farmers' protest is backed by 82% of the people in France. So just wanted to show you a quick little segment of this here. A literal tire fire, which I don't think this is just at a farm, right? And then let's go back to this. This is at a McDonald's. This is at a McDonald's. I'm not going to play the audio for that one because they put some weird music over it. But check this out. And Dex and I thought this was funny that somebody took the time to do the little cute animation on it for McDonald's. Through this video, you see them rolling in this huge roll of what looks like, I at first I thought it was hay. That's essentially manure. So they brought a huge chunk of manure into the McDonald's and they dropped it everywhere. And if you continue to watch, they brought it into the bathroom, they threw it into the kitchen, they threw it everywhere. And at one point you actually see the staff. Let me see here. The staff here later just standing there like, I'm not doing it. I bet you the staff just said, I'm going home today. Yeah, you can see him right right there. Yeah. dropping a deuce in a McDonald's. when I first saw this, there was no context, and somebody just reposted it. I thought that this was some sort of. I know that a lot of people have been protesting McDonald's because they're supporting the whole "is" thing. This was the French farmers standing up, and basically everybody's pissed off with the French government. But like I said earlier, everybody is like in this divided thing. No matter where you are in the world, it's really bad. It's my belief we're going to war, and this is what the world is going to look like right before it. Let's see here. By the way, thank you. A few new members. Jessica G. Thank you. Arlene Herber. Shaggy Spitfire. Thank you for joining the Fugle fam. Terrible Truth. Jimbo Talks Men's. What is that? Men's Room? And then Inquiring Minds. Crystal Watkins. Sheepdog 111. Lord Andrew. And Steve McQueen. Thank you. Appreciate that. And then Neil Nelson, thank you as well. Old Church Radio, thank you for subscribing. And everyone else that just popped in. What do you think about that? Do you agree with that? What I didn't get the context of is why McDonald's though. Dex, we saw a bunch of clips of that. None of them ever had the context of why McDonald's. It's like, I hate the French government. Let's go manure a McDonald's.
Yeah, well, it's a farming issue, so I'm wondering if it has something to do with food.
Oh, with the meat.
I don't know. I'm guessing.
Huh. Well, maybe they just announced they're going to go to bug meat or something. Yeah, I would probably think to do the same. All right, and over to Connecticut, First Congregational Church in New London collapsed. And once you see the images and the videos, some said, and I'll ask your opinion on this, what do you guys think? Did this look like it was an explosion? That's what some people, let me get my ugly mug off here so you can see it here. Let's see. Currently, a large emergency response is underway after a significant section, if you look at the top view, the entire church collapsed in on itself. It's big time.
There's corners around the side.
If you see this freeze frame here, it's the whole church. From the pictures I saw, it was quite a beautiful old church, and it completely collapsed. It's very, very odd. I saw a couple of people say it's a sign, but some of the first comments were, it looks like an explosion went off or something dropped on it. Like somebody dropped something on top of it. If you see this pan down here, I mean, look at that. Wait, what does that look to you? I'll get your opinions on this. Beautiful, beautiful church. Boom. So that was drone footage, and Roz Alert got that. So really, does that look like a normal collapse? Most people said yeah. Some people said that it looks like almost an explosion. Looks to me like an old gravity bomb from, World War II or something like. This almost looks like a movie from a World War II movie or something after something dropped. It's like parts of it are still there. In fact, you can kind of see the roof is indented, like things fell in. It was just, but what happened there? And then the spire was much taller. So maybe the weight of the brick spire then dropped. And I could see if it was older wood or if they had, what do you call them? If they had a wood frame system holding up huge, heavy brick system of building, then I could kind of see that if they had termites or something over years and years and years. I mean, this thing looks like it was over 100 years old. Lots of great responses here. Yeah. I like that meme. The war you think you should be worried about. The war you should be worried about. The holy war. By the way, both Dex and I are both, if you are on Twitter at all, you have seen this shocking honey scam tweet. It's really funny actually, because you know that they have essentially said that Twitter, even if you pay for advertising there, that does not mean you won't get community notes. They have a community note that calls out the ad, which I think is kind of awesome. It doesn't matter if they paid Twitter or X, they still allow them. They'll say, hey, if it's a fake ad, then you call it out. I think that is one of the cooler feature of the new X. Whereas the old Twitter, it doesn't matter if the company was super sketchy, they put on a tweet, they would maybe take it down, but they weren't going to, put a correction there saying that the product that paid them was BS. It's kind of funny. But yeah. And before we move on, just want to remind you guys, make sure to go check out Harvest Right. It's a Utah company. They make all of these like they used to make as far as appliances back in the day. These are very well built. This is a freeze dryer, so it can freeze dry your own foods. It actually they have varying sizes depending on what you actually need. Again, the largest can freeze dry a ton of food all at once. Even the smallest size is more than enough for most families. But again, this is a great machine. It freeze dries food so it can last up to 25 years, which is great. And also, when you freeze dry your own food, it is about a quarter of the price as buying pre-packaged food. Now, we actually give you recommendations if you just need it done and want the food in your in your pantry. We have options for that, like marfugalnews.com/prep. But if you want to get yourself into doing it yourself, it's a great hobby. It's not. It is an investment to get into initially, but once you do, you're going to be able to do it yourself, and you will actually save money in the long run if you do want 3, 6 months, 9 months of food. This is definitely the cost-effective option, especially if you have a family of 4 or more. Then yeah, you're going to end up saving money doing it yourself big time. It will pay itself off in a couple months of food. Go to marfugalnews.com/freeze. What's really good about it too is if you have dietary restrictions, you can go to the store, get whatever food you want. You can be thrifty if you want, then freeze dry that food and then keep it for over 2 decades. So really, really cool. Again, it has become a hobby for most people that get into it. They love freeze drying. I mean, it's become its own niche in itself. There are a million videos on how to do it. I would suggest, looking up some freeze drying videos before you go and invest in something like this. I'm sure that if you do, you will find there's a lot of people that absolutely love doing it. Go to marfugalnews.com/freeze. You'll get $300 off on the pro models, so make sure to go check it out. All right, and let's see here. We've got Chinese startups' reusable rockets look awfully familiar. So there is an actual video you can go watch over on marfugalnews.com, but they're basically doing rockets just like Elon. Dex, the video looks like they're attempting the very beginnings of what SpaceX had.
It is. It was only a 60-second test. They didn't go very far, but the point was to take off and get up off the ground and then land vertically on a launch pad. And they, I guess, completed that according to the company. That doesn't show in the video, but it did land within about 7 feet of its designated touchdown spot, according to the report. So this is, very similar to Elon's system. I guess the thing that, whether or not it's a copy, it doesn't matter. I mean, that the tech evolves, and they're either going to steal it, they're just going to copy it outright from a distance, or maybe they copy it from people inside. Maybe they got information. Who knows? Nonetheless, the point is they're advancing their technology at a greater rate. Look at where they are. They're catching up almost already with this capability. Elon's the only one that's doing it. So, only one that's doing it successfully at a great, great consistency. So, yeah, this is just another sign of the advancement of the Chinese technology and manufacturing and capabilities.
Yeah, how is China? It's on a daily basis. We're hearing about them, reaching the cutting breakneck of science, and it's like, why? Uh, why isn't it a daily article about how we're breaking some record? Some could say, oh, well, because we already have. No, we're talking about they're surpassing us in a ton of fields.
We do that every day with the national debt.
That's not funny, Dex. That's horrible. The video is on the website just to show you kind of a little kind of preview of that. It's right there. So make sure to go check it out. marfugalnews.com. All right. And California woman who got high shanked her boyfriend 108 times and will not go to prison. In fact, she got community service. Now, the reason I added this to today's show is I have a personal experience with this, not me. But one of my family members has, it's been this huge journey of figuring out what's going on. Normal kid, grew up normal. He is an amazing now man. I mean, he's 21 now almost. But he's just an amazing kid. He really has so much potential. He's, growing up, he was a super loving kid, just one of the smartest kids around. And all of a sudden he just started, seeing things and hearing voices and writing weird things. And it got worse than that. He had some pretty serious stuff happen, and I won't go into too many of the details, but it really, we were like, well, what's going on? Is it the hard stuff? Is it this? Well, he doesn't do any of that. But here in Washington, it's legal for Mary Jane, and he does do that. Well, after time and time again, basically the thing that they found is after he smokes it, this is when all of the kind of mental stuff happens. Now, obviously, this doesn't happen with everybody. There's people that have been doing it for 40 years, 50 years, longer, and that never happens. Now, at first, I looked through a lot of stuff, and I said, I don't believe this. And I'm sure there's people that are like, oh, no, I don't believe that either. I'm thinking that certain people maybe it's because now the stuff is so much different than it used to be back when I used to smoke in high school and stuff. It was way stronger than what my parents' generation they smoked. In the 70s, it was like 3% THC or something. Then it was like 8%. Then it was like 12%. Now what you go in and get it from a dispensary, it varies, but you can get like 20, 30, 40%. I don't even know about dabs or any of that stuff. Never done it. That's the new age of stuff. And I'm sure I see you guys in chat talking about it every shoutro, but like that is way, way strong. Now, most people, they get used to it. They get, kind of like if you drink alcohol, you can drink more and more and more. And if you drink every day, you can drink half a bottle and still be the same drunk as somebody who drinks one drink. Same with this. People get a tolerance, whatever else. Well, certain people have this psychosis, and I really did not believe this. And most people go and look at that and they're like, what? But one of my family members has had thing where they didn't remember it. They were not there for it. So what's crazy is I actually understand this in a way. And got community service? Well, what if they truly weren't there? What if you've known that person your whole life and you go, this isn't them. And it truly isn't them. Like you've been around them tens and tens of thousands of hours, years, decades, and they never do something like this. And then on chronic of all things, like this has never been a thing. This is why I questioned when I first started hearing about this and when I started looking into the studies that they're doing. I'm like, is it the stuff that they have now that's doing this? And what's crazy is this is California, another state where it's regulated and it's actually, approved. And this is the crazy tinfoil part. It's like, now that they've approved it, there's issues with it. Now that it's approved and it's going through and it's taxed and all of this through the state, now it's having issues like this. Has this always been a thing? Have you guys ever heard of this before? Dex, did you ever hear about this growing up? Like, obviously, people that have. You probably have done it at some point in your history. What, have you ever heard of somebody going nuts?
I'm no angel. I'm no angel. But no, I've seen people that have had different types of reactions, like, oh, it makes me too paranoid, I'll never touch it again, or things like that. But I've not seen this level extreme. But at the same time, I would add that the cultivation and the I guess the genetic or whatever they do to design and make these things better, these plants, if you want to call them that, which I guess that's what they are, has changed dramatically since the 70s and 80s and 90s. It's gotten, now that it's become mainstream in a lot of states and legal in a lot of states, the what you can get nowadays is much different than your granddad's little toke. So yeah, I think that may play a little bit into it too, because I don't know what's changed in all these strains.
Well, it's I don't it's kind of like, what are they putting in the stuff? What is that kind of thing? And it makes me wonder, why is this kind of happening? And now it is such an accepted thing where this person had a legal defense that was able to say that this is a psychosis from that, which now they are diagnosing it. This is a new diagnosis, I think. I'm not sure. I don't know when the first diagnosis of marijuana induced psychosis was, but I had never heard of it. And for years, the only people I knew were potheads. I've never heard of this. Dex, go ahead.
Well, and the other thing I was just thinking, what if it's not the strains and the change of the plants themselves over time? What if it's what we're ingesting and what we've taken and what they've done to our bodies over time with all of the chemicals or the pharmaceuticals or whatever? Maybe we're different and we're now reacting to that differently. And that's why this is appearing. Reacting with something else.
Wing It with Ethan says it's not the chronic, right? But it is triggered by that. So there's a night and day difference. I've seen it in my life. Normal human being does it, then it brings out. Maybe I guess if you would say that it brings that out of a person, or it's triggering something else that might be environmentally something there. But in history, pot's been around for a very long time. It's never done this. And now, at least not that I know of, that's what I'm saying. Like, was there cases of this in the 70s and 80s and in the 90s? Like, where is this coming from? Is it because of the strength? Is it because of that? That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that, people got to get offended by it's not that. It's not that. Personally, none of us know all of the growers that grow for these state dispensaries. But now there is I just wonder, you also have the motivation. Now it's legal. They can grow however much. What if there is something like they are genetically modifying stuff like this to make it grow faster, to make it grow bigger, to make it grow stronger? Is that a possibility? Something that they're using that would also be put in foods to grow big tomatoes, big this. This is a plant. If they add genetically modified things into it to make it stronger, to make it the best, so all the dispensaries go to your place because they say you've got the best stuff. Could there be something in that or in the pesticides they're using that could be the cause? That's what I'm wondering. And I've seen a night and day difference in somebody I know after they did it. It's like It's like somebody with multiple personality disorder. It's a completely different person than the person I've known for 20 years. And that's what, and it took me a year to believe this. I said, no, I think he's doing something else. I think there's some other hard stuff he's doing, like not sleeping for 3 days. What do you think that is, right? But then was monitored 24/7 for months. And that was it. That was it. So I don't know. It's never maybe dipped. See here, think. That's what I'm saying. I don't get it. I have a guess that later down the road, we're going to find out that some of these growers or something were doing something to the stuff. There's only a few states where I don't know how many states you can just walk in and buy it like you can here, California and other places, but I'm assuming it's not in all 50 yet, right? But here you can go into a store just like a 7-Eleven and there's a whole selection, but that whole selection, they're probably from a handful of growers / makers. Yeah. Dex, go ahead.
Hey, I want to change the subject when you're ready. Just let me know.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I got a map of the states. If you want to pull that up, it's in Screener. And right after it is a very important tweet that goes along with this. And we're jumping back now to the Texas issue. That is the first image you're going to show is a map showing the 25 states. So it'll give you a good visual of who is backing Texas. Obviously, mostly Republican governors, I believe, on every one of them. I didn't double check that, but I would make that assumption. But the next tweet you're going to show after that is the most concerning one. And if ever there was a time you see someone stand up and have a call to action that might be meaningful, and when you rewind history 10 years from now back to this date, if this is what I think it could be, this might be that impetus to major change.
Breaking, our former prez calls on all willing state governors to deploy their National Guard to Texas and to remove the people that came over illegally back across the border.
It's a pretty big statement.
We encourage all willing states to deploy their guards to Texas to prevent the entry. Can they do that? Can they legally, would they have
their guards,
jurisdiction?
yes.
Like, so they can
It's
send
their
them.
guards. If you remember during CV, they all deployed their guards to New York and other places to help when they had the needs for extra personnel or whatever.
Yeah, I was just wondering, do they have jurisdiction? I guess so. Then that's an agreement with the two states saying, hey, my National Guard is going to come to your state and help out. I guess if there was a big disaster like Hurricane Katrina, I think I remember other states sending their National Guard to help. Yeah, look at that. And then this is the map of the states that are all supporting Texas. Gosh, it looks like the minority are the ones that aren't. There's so many tiny states here on the East Coast. It's like all of these little tiny, just kind of puts it in perspective. You would almost think that that's the majority of the country supports Texas. I guess.
Do you remember any of those predictive maps that showed the split of America into 3 regions or something like that? I wonder how this map falls with that.
Well, you mean like the new Navy map? Because the new Navy
No,
map
that's a water map. I'm thinking more of the ones that said America was going to be split into 3 or 4. I can't remember what it was. It was a predictive map, and I can't remember who it was that did it.
It wasn't Deagle, was it?
I don't know. I don't think it was that.
Huh.
I figured you got the memory.
Nope.
I'm old.
Not on this. Not on this one. If you guys know what he's talking about, not like that. But you guys watch the show too. There's so many people here. What's so
Joe says yes.
Juvie, yeah. Well, and the funny part is so many regular watchers. They remember things we don't about our own shows, and then that ends up helping us bring up a whole new piece. Like, if we can't, that's why I always ask the audience, like, do you remember we talked about this? And then the audience goes, yeah, it was this, and they have the answer for my question, because we're all in this together. Like this is a group, this is a viewer powered channel. Like all of this, we're all driven to find these answers. That's my opinion on this. Like this is a community. We're all hoping for the real answers on all of these questions, So I'm hoping we eventually find them. But yeah, and then before we go anywhere else, just want to remind you guys, make sure to go check out Energy. Somebody asked yesterday what it looks like as far as size goes, what the tactical looks like. So the tactical is the same size as the Flex 1500, but I did want to just show you the reason why the tactical is so special. Not only is this the same solar generator that's going to be shipping out with the STTR Phase 2 contract with the U.S. Army. The Army only does contracts with stuff like this. They don't care about the price. Obviously, tax dollars don't matter to them. But what does matter is the reliability. They want to make sure that it is going to turn on. Now, this is a high-quality solar generator. Almost all of their products right now, you will need to wait. Again, so you definitely want to get your name on a list, and you need to basically order and put your name on one. But this is the Flex Tactical. For size-wise, just to show you this, they are modular. They're expandable. This is mine. So I don't know if you can hear this. That's solid steel, this whole thing. And then these are the latches I was talking about. They're 1,500-pound latches. So when you undo that, you also have grounds. You have all of the same things that the other ones do, the original, but these 1,500-pound latches, this thing could fall off a truck. That's why I say this thing is built like a tank. I don't know if this is powder coated. I forgot to ask them, but it feels like a powder coated surface. But this is how big it is with one battery. And it's heavy. It's built like a tank with the best everything. They make sure, so this is going to last decades. That's the thing. The batteries, because it is lithium, that is a technology that eventually, the other thing is when you buy good lithium batteries, they are also going to last longer. Just as if you buy the generic batteries at the grocery store compared to the, super crazy Energizer, this or that with LiPo, this and that, you're going to get longer battery life. If you buy from some of their competitors, especially some of the bigger ones, they are directly run and owned by a company that's a direct front tied directly back to the CCP. China controls a huge, huge portion of lithium technology. And that's unfortunate. So there is a wait. If you want the best and the finest, that's why you go with Energy. And I would say if you cannot do the wait, get yourself a gas generator in the meantime, or go with a gas generator. I wouldn't go personally with any other solar generator. I have not found one yet, and I've tried at least 9, including the 2 that do the same thing as this. These are expandable, so if you want 10 batteries, you can do that. If you want 96 batteries, you can do that. If you want to add UPS to this, you can do that. These have built-in heaters in every battery, so you could be in extreme cold, and they're silent. When they are on, they are silent. Nobody is going to hear it. Again, that means you're going to be a gray man. Nobody's going to know you have power running. And also, there's all sorts of cool adaptions that can be made. Because just like Lego bricks, you can add in those bricks. So yeah, go check it out, marfugalnews.com/energy. And yeah, I would definitely say the tactical is going to be, if you're trying to go for long term, go for the tactical. And they are going to be gearing towards doing more tactical as well, too. Not to mention the U.S. Army, they're doing a huge contract for them. So this is the best of the best, in my opinion. I don't think there is one that really is close as far as the quality. Go to marfugalnews.com/energy, INERGY, and make sure to use the code Marfugal. Not only will you save, but you also help our independent channel out. So thank you guys. But yeah, and they have all sorts of mods coming, UPS mods, supercharger mods, all and future ones that I don't even think that they're talking about yet. So make sure to stay tuned. Again, that the cool thing is if you get it now, if they come out with a mod in 2 years, you can throw it right on. It's going to work with the original head unit. That's what's so cool. They build it with forward thinking. If you want to add something in the future, you can. If you want to add batteries in the future, you can. If you want to leave with 10 batteries or if you want to leave with 1 and take it to work with you, you can do that. So go to marfugalnews.com/energy. All right. And then thank you over on DLive. We got some funny comments over there. That's pretty hilarious. Earlier in the show. Let's see here. And thank you, Kimbria. Thank you, Cloud Pharrell. Thank you, Havilla, Holiday Kisser. Thank you. And thank you, Kiki Gray, Renegade PD, Badger 1, Skyhouse, J-Girl, that's me, and Scooby-Doo Do Right. Thank you as well. Cloud Pharrell says, Nevada added. Yes, lots added now. I mean, shoot, look at that map. If it was by like square footage, I think it would be the majority, but I don't think that they're going off of square footage there. And then Airwolf, thank you, 2024. Thank you, Airwolf, for your support this week. Thank you for your super tonight. I appreciate that. Thank you for the super sticker. Domenico Luvara, thank you for the super. And Carpenter 1777. Thank you. Drugs are a gateway to the spirit realm. Evil can cross over. Carpenter 1, thank you for the support. And yeah, I remember the DARE. The first time I heard it was a gateway drug is like first grade when the DARE guy came to our school. Now, what do you think the DARE guys are like? Do they even have DARE anymore? Dare to say no? I don't know if they do. But the DARE classes were always like comical almost. One time I remember they had one of those mascots. It was like a big bird that came in my classroom, and it was like one of those sports mascots and was like doing a dance, and they actually put on a tape player and a boombox, and he started dancing and break dancing in our class. And then the whole thing, I remember even in first grade, because I grew up in like bad scenarios. So I was already like, what is this? Like, and he did like a spin, stood up, and he was like, yo, to know. And that was it. Like there was no context, no nothing, just no. And then a police officer came in and said, don't do drugs. But I even remember thinking back then, like, what does this have to do with drugs? Like he's just breakdancing and saying no. I guess it did the job though. I remember it. Did you guys have that bird come to your school? It was like the two things I remember from elementary school is DARE and the DARE bird, and then the python that did the tour of everybody's school and you got your picture with. Those were the two things I can remember. Other than that, it's all faded away. Go ahead.
Do you remember the frying of the egg?
Oh yeah, this is your brain on drugs.
Yeah, that's that. I see that every morning when I cook. But yeah.
You see somebody's brain on drugs?
I guess I fry egg every morning. I just think
you think about it though, right?
Yeah, I do. I'm like, oh, it's so stupid.
It was a smart marketing. I mean, think about it. Everybody, sees that. This is your brain. This is your brain on drugs. All right, and now hipsters wear the DARE shirts like it's cool. Like everything older is cool. It's retro. What's sad is like my childhood is now retro. It's like beyond retro. I remember when Nick at Night started playing Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and I was like, gosh, I am old. Now Nick at Night is playing like shows from like 10 years ago, and I'm like, what the heck? I don't even think Nick at Night exists anymore. I don't know. I just remember when they started playing like Nick at Night and shows that I watched new. All right, you guys. Well, thank you so much for getting here. Dex, why don't you let them know how to get to the very confusing description now that they've hidden it on most platforms?
Well, yeah, if you're looking for our links and you don't want to type them in, you got to find the description on the platform on YouTube and Rumble. On YouTube, if you're looking at it wide, turn it tall, or if you're on a desktop, you got it made. And then you can expand it. Find that show notes link. It's the first one. It'll take you right to our website. All the other links are there too. If you're looking for any of our affiliates, any other things, other stuff that we've got in there, you can check out the description. But look, go to marfugalnews.com. It's simply organized, very visual. Just look for the thumbnail. Click on the thumbnail. You'll get to the page with everything we had on it today. And very easy to do. marfugalnews.com.
That has all the sources. And of course, don't forget to go to marfugalnews.com/friends or click on the tab at the top and check out all of our awesome mods like Ilea, Chance Paladin, Bones, CJ Blaze, the wonderful Trinity. Of course, thank you, Trinity, Red or Blue Pill, Hi Ho, Kermit the Frog here, does regular live streams and awesome shows and great edited videos. Wages World has been covering all of the solar activity. Ilea, not only Jack of all trades or Jackie of all trades, RJL Harris, awesome woman. And then, of course, Rip Curl Readiness does great content on his. Lisa Hall, sweetest woman alive and longest running mod. Jammer One, Gem, CJ Blaze, and of course, all the rest. Thank you guys. I love you. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. Thank you so much, Dex. I appreciate you.
Much love. Great job, brother.
It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro.
Tell you what, they stomp on us, then they've got to go. All you do is say no. Tell you what, they stomp on us, then they've got to go. All you do is say no. Tell you what, they stomp on us, then they've got to go. All you do is say no. Alicia, I'm DMD, I'm Tracy you, man, see her thing. I think James really home, them Jimmy one, yeah, say. I said, hey, I would have MMJ, shape a girl in the midst of a shade. Hey, I would have kept Carol, everybody on like arrow, flaming arrow, Apollo Walsell, I David Reed and the David W. David Soway, and a Willie Welding on the badger, a shaft of war, aim back down in the big old wall. Everybody gonna see this way, going back from round and dance this way. I said, hey, I with the Lord Floyd and the Susan B and the Susan Oil. Everybody let's say, oh boy, yeah. The unlimited process, bring it on down and out your dress. All you need to do to get out of war is maybe put on a dress.